uh, what is this? May edition of the Tips and Tricks Special Interest Group. Normally, what we do is we have an open forum, and then we'll go into the topics that I'd sent out in an email to everybody, so everybody could take a chance to review them and pick from the pool of questions and topics that we can go over. There was also the want to have a group discussion about password managers. So we'll do that after our open forum section. So, Tim, are you fired up? Okay. That being said, everybody, welcome. And who'd like to open up the floor with the first question of the evening? Computer questions.
Well, I'd like to give people the heads up that I have 2 computers logged in that just over the weekend got upgraded to Windows 11 24H2.
And what was it before then?
23H2.
Oh, so
Windows
you just
11.
simple upgrade.
One would think.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but it wasn't,
But things showed up, especially in my power spec. Under the hood, the power spec is sold by Micro Center. Under the hood, the motherboard is Asus, and it has their BIOS. And little beknownst to me, there is a zombie feature in that BIOS, which 24H2 activated. And it prompted a registration pop-up at every login, which never found its server because the server has been discontinued. But the BIOS still has this thing, and it got enabled. A Microsoft update enables an Asus feature in an Asus BIOS. And I had to go all over the internet to find this out. I didn't know what was going on. There's a YouTube video about it, and it's pretty simple. You go into your BIOS, and then you disable this thing. But what Asus has, you know how Lenovo has its driver and update kind of thing, and most laptops come with a driver and update assistant, and it's kind of baked in sometimes into the BIOS. That's the sort of thing that Asus was doing with their motherboards. It's called either QInstaller or Armory Crate. And it's kind of an edge case because not all the Asus motherboards have it. But mine did. And I had forgotten about it or didn't know about it. I think I forgot about it. I have upgraded the BIOS from the Micro Center standard to a more up-to-date Asus BIOS. And it just got a BIOS upgrade before the Windows feature update. So that's that. Not much else to say. Wi-Fi is quite fine, and I haven't noticed terribly many changes on the desktop. Apps are pretty much the same. Copilot's everywhere, but, it's going to be.
So I'm not, Bob, I didn't quite follow the nuances of what was the issue with the BIOS. There was a setting in there that was conflicting, or you were required to do can you elaborate a little better on that?
By default, back in the day, many of the Asus motherboards had this thing called Armory Crate, and there was a setting under, you go into your BIOS, you hit F7 for advanced, and there's a tab called Tool. And that includes several different kinds of tools, which can control motherboard features. And one of these controls is a suite of tools that they grouped under QInstaller, which became Armory Crate. And it controls fan speed, it controls certain other firmware settings on the motherboard, and I think you can even change the clock speed, things like that if you really know what you're doing. And you could do that from within Windows if you have this application, because it links directly to the BIOS. And that's the same thing Lenovo likes to do with those kinds of things. Driver upgrades are also folded into this, that kind of thing. So it's your basic motherboard utility suite. But it also has this registration, which would connect you to them, and then they would probably be monitoring things that you do with your computer. And that's what I didn't want, so that's why I had it turned off. Why a feature update would turn this on, I do not know, and neither does the fellow who made the video.
So how did this feature being turned on disabled you being able to do the upgrade?
It didn't.
It
The
did.
upgrade was fine. But after the upgrade, trying to get into an account and open it and use anything was being blocked by this registration pop-up. It was an annoying kind of adware / phone home, potentially unwanted program.
Mm-hmm.
I won't call it malware. I won't call it spyware because I don't know what it does. All I know is it's not something I need on my computer, not the registration part. I like to be able to do drivers from one centralized location. I do that with the Intel Drivers and Support Assistant, which doesn't do any of this stuff. With Armory Crate, there is software, which I did install, that can operate independently of the BIOS. But the BIOS can also install it, but when it does, it likes to phone home. So normally that setting can be turned off and it'll stay off, and nothing will show up.
So that Armory Crate has to phone home?
The Armory Crate registration, if you have opted in to any services that would require registration or a link, Republic of Games, ROG, all these other kinds of things, they're also folded in there. And there's something that happens locally called aura effects, which if you have LEDs on your case, make them do all kinds of interesting things. I don't have any of that. But anyway, there's a lot of gaming tools in there. And there are offers to download games and to download Norton, Norton Security, WinRare, things like that. Yeah, it's Armory Crate. And you can just download the software and it's perfectly benign. It doesn't turn on the registry setting. But for some reason, on some motherboards, the 24H2 Microsoft feature update did activate. It did enable it in the motherboard, in the BIOS. I think what Microsoft was trying to do was to just set the BIOS to defaults. But this is not a true default. Although maybe Asus thinks it is.
So did you need to download this utility too?
I did download it because without registering, that's the best way to get it. If you turn it on in the BIOS, you're going to end up registering, and the registration server no longer exists. Or they moved it. Actually, I think they moved it. The software has undergone a lot of evolution over time.
But yet this installer here is current.
The installer is current, yes. And it puts in the current software. But the BIOS has never been upgraded.
Oh.
What it tries to install is an older version of at least some components. So it's out of date. Sometimes you'll see Q install, sometimes you'll see Armory Crate as the listing.
Right. Now, this is for an Asus motherboard because I've never heard of this Armory Crate, so that must be unique to them.
Armory Crate is Asus branded.
Okay. Right. And I saw when I searched for it, it said Asus in parentheses after it. So you're capturing it from the Asus website. And
it ties in with their ROG or Republic of Games, their whole meme about that for gamers. In other words, this same motherboard is used in low-end gaming machines. I could have put in a graphics card that would have made it fairly decent. But instead, I put in a lot more fast USB slots.
What do you do that requires all this speed, and what is it you do that makes this so this thing seems so complicated.
Well, it isn't really. Microsoft complicated it, but normally Armory Crate behaves just like the Intel driver and update assistance, as long as you stick to the tools tab where
I
you're
know, but
updating your drivers.
what is it you actually do that requires all this stuff? I mean,
That requires driver updates?
here's what I'm trying to get. So Stanford knows that I was in CCS from out of the 70s, and
No, I deny it all.
I was anyway, so, and then 10 years ago, I said, after the blue screen of death came up once too often, I said, and I built my own computers. I know how BIOS. So I bought a Mac, and in 10 years, I can't even tell you if it has a BIOS. I have no idea. It's just
It's something that you don't need to bother with.
yeah, I just, and I got to tell you, it saved so many years of my life screwing with this stuff. I'm just so happy.
I am also a Linux user. Does that answer part of your question?
Yeah, you just like geeky doing crazy shit.
He's a
Spend your
tinker.
time doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have a laptop from a company called MSI, and it has its own software that it installed from the factory that goes out to MSI periodically and updates, their drivers. So, I mean, different hardware vendors, whether it be Dell or HP or Microsoft, they have their own way of downloading certain things. But for the most part, for 80% of your drivers, Microsoft has most all of the things that you need.
Well,
If you don't want up-to-date drivers. My graphics drivers are always more up-to-date than anything Microsoft tries to foist on me. And these days, in order to hide the Microsoft driver updates, I have to go into PowerShell and use its show and hide feature with NuGet.
Well, I have a question. Today is supposed to be Patch Tuesday. Has anybody gotten updates yet today?
I let them cook for about 2 weeks always.
Because I have what I thought was going to be a tip for tonight, but it's also a trick. It's a tip and a trick.
I like tips and tricks.
I found a program on the internet that's a little free utility that is in a zip file, so there's nothing to actually install. And it disables Microsoft Windows updates. Now, if you go into settings, Microsoft Windows Update is still there, and it still thinks that it's trying and doing things, and it tells you you're up to date. But whatever this utility is, I've made it through Patch Tuesday with all of my computers, and none of them have downloaded anything.
There really are simpler ways of controlling these things. Feature updates you can control with Gibson Research in Control, and I used that and just simply changed it from 23H2 to 24H2 for the lock. That relies on 6 registry settings or group policies, depending on which edition you've got.
Yeah.
And then for the monthly updates, in the interface itself that you see when you check for updates, there is a pause, which can pause for up to 5 weeks.
Yeah, you can pause it, but you can't stop it. I would like to, have the ability to wait from, look at what happens in the month of May for a few weeks and see if anybody reports problems before I install them in June. I don't intend to not update at all. I just want to not have to perpetually pause. And eventually you're going to have to, the pausing stop doesn't work anymore. You can't pause forever.
5 weeks is the maximum. 5 weeks is the maximum. And you know what? What you're doing probably doesn't extend beyond 5 weeks. Or does it?
I don't know for certain because I haven't read any. I don't know if there's any documentation for this, but you run the zip file, you run the executable, you click one button, and you
Yep.
close it, and that's it. And you're done.
What's
Yeah,
this
but
file called?
It is called. Let me
And
bring up.
and how did you become aware of it, Drew?
I became aware of it because a friend of mine is running Linux, and he has a Windows 10 virtual machine. And he was really pissed off and upset that Windows kept updating, and he wanted his Windows 10 virtual machine to just stay as it is and not update. So I asked ChatGPT if there are any free utilities available that are capable of stopping Windows 10 or 11 from updating. And it came back and said, yes, try this.
okay.
And I tried it, and so far it's working.
Okay,
It's
and what
working.
is it called?
I'm pulling up the chat right now, and I'll paste the URL in so everybody can see it.
Meanwhile, I'd like to note that for virtual machines, there's a whole different set of requirements than for a live running host operating system.
Well,
Or
his
standalone.
his virtual machine is a fully licensed version of Windows 10.
Yeah, but it's in a virtual machine environment inside of what, Linux?
Inside of Linux, yes.
So it already has the Linux security. Sort of. Okay. I worry about anything that makes changes that block Windows Update completely, because you can do permanent damage to Windows by doing that. And then you end up having to either do an over-the-top reinstall or a lot of DISM routines.
So next
Uh,
month, Drew will give us a report whether or not he's had any issues that showed up since he's been playing with this, right?
yeah. If I'm not on next month's meeting, you'll know I had a problem.
But Drew, I'm wondering why in a regular standalone installation or a host installation, why you would want to pause updates longer than about a month.
I intend to do it for a month, but I just discovered this the other day, and I'm sort of curious tinkerer about it, and so I'm trying it. I don't know if it's something I'll do permanently or not, but I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah.
So let me throw a scenario at you, and let's see if this applies to here. If you have a machine that is not capable of moving up to Windows 11, you want to stop doing the updates because you're not going to be able to go any further. At some point, you're going to stop and say, stop trying to shove this down me. I can't take any more updates. It won't work. Or you're in a limited storage capacity on that device and you can't take the next update, but Windows keeps trying to download it. Would this utility be a solution to that, to getting Windows to stop trying to download something you know you can't install?
Well, it's so far it when I go into settings, Windows Update looks normal, and it says I'm up to date, even though I may not be because I haven't installed any Patch Tuesday files. So, like I said, I'm too new to it to know how to answer any technical questions.
One thing I would like to say, if you need to prevent feature updates, again, there's this Gibson research in control. It's in capital C control. And that's a very tiny little utility, only messes with 6 registry settings and or a couple of group policies. And that's a lot gentler than doing the sledgehammer approach, which you may need on some machines to totally disable Windows Update.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an experiment.
And again, there is that capability in the user interface of check for updates to pause updates for up to 5 weeks. After which time you'll get everything, including the kitchen sink, unless you do my little PowerShell trick. Yeah, that's the one in Gibson. And I have that installed on both of my Windows computers. And you can take control. You can set what feature release you want to stay with. It was originally never 10, meaning people who didn't want Windows 10 would use it so that they'd never get Windows 10. Now, some people need to say, don't give me 11. So they stick it on 10, 22, H2. And that's where they stay. Now, 23H2 you can't stay on forever because it won't get any more updates.
Isn't the danger of this that you don't get security updates either?
If you stay on 23H2, that will happen. 21H2 is already in that category.
Well, you want to get security updates, I would think.
You certainly do, although there are other places to get them, like Zero Patch.
Gibson Research. I'm looking for that Gibson Research, but I can't find.
Gibson Research in control.
Gibson
You want me to put
Research.
that link in the chat?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
I could do that. Well,
Oh, wait a minute. I think I just found it. Yep, I got
yeah,
it.
you found it.
Here, I'll put it in the chat though, so everybody
good.
else can find it.
That sounds good. People seeing the video will be able to find it if we post chat alongside the video or a note.
Wasn't there another software that we found that they had?
Gibson Research with their SpinRite.
Yeah, but there was something else we saw that they came out with.
Don't they have Shields Up, or is that somebody else?
Yes, that's Gibson.
Shields Up.
Shields Up. Test your Wi-Fi and firewall.
Yeah, well, for security updates, I don't rely on Windows Defender. I have my own antivirus program, so I'm not concerned about Windows Defender.
No, the security updates we're talking about are for the system, the Windows system.
Yeah.
Patches.
Yeah, but again, this is just an experiment.
Yeah. Well, it's good to experiment sometimes.
Okay, next question, new direction.
Okay.
Totally new direction, if I can.
Go ahead.
I ran into something yesterday on my primary machine here, which is a Windows 10 24 H2, I think it is. I was scrolling on YouTube, waiting for time for me to go to school, and I was watching the clock down below, and it didn't bother to touch me until Margaret came in here and said, "It's time for you to go. It's 2 o'clock," and my clock still said 12:01.
You lost 2 hours.
So the taskbar had totally frozen.
I think you're
The rest of
freezing
the
now.
machine was working right. What was that?
It sounds like you're freezing right now. The audio.
That's probably over the.
Oh.
Especially if shit is going on in the Mideast or the Far East or whatever,
Yep.
because all of that signal comes through the Hawaii fiber.
So what did you notice froze, Pete, besides the time? Anything else?
Taskbar.
The taskbar.
During YouTube playback?
Yeah. But
Yeah, you're taxing your system resources a lot.
This is the first I've had the machine for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only thing on there was the browser and YouTube.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so now this is where it comes in. This machine's got a Ryzen processor, probably Ryzen 7. So it's getting a little old. It won't take Windows 11. Okay, so let me finish going through my train of thought here. So I've just been starting. I use Fusion 360 a lot for things. That's a very high processor video card thing, and now Autodesk is telling me that the driver on my video card is no longer compatible. It still works, but it's no longer up to snuff because it's a 550. So now my question is, and I can't get an updated drivers for it because it's so old. So now the question comes in, do I just say bless you and get rid of it and get an 11?
Come here.
I've done the looking at HP because they don't cover it, and HP.
know if they put tape before they patched it?
Mhm.
They did.
Yeah.
So it's not covered under HP anymore. It's a tower. Okay, but since so my question here is, do I put resources in an old car, which might carry me through for 1 or 2 years, maybe, or now next week school ends at the school, and I'm going to bring back my Nook type small computer, which has got 11 on it, but I've never tested it with Fusion on it. So I'm going to bring it back home and I'm going to check it with Fusion, and I might just replace this one with that one. I agree with your premise there, but I also want to make sure that the primary machine I'm using is up to date and does everything I need to do.
Yeah.
That's
I
the other situation here.
I usually keep a primary machine and then a secondary machine and maybe something that runs Linux. So,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
I've got the box that I'm talking to you guys on. I got the second Linux all in one over here. I've got a slightly newer box than this one at the shop. So I'm not going to be out of a PC ever. I got 4 other older ones that still work that can get converted to Linux. But the
yeah,
machine I go in here for day to day, I wanted it to be rock solid and do what I needed to do. And Fusion is probably the most intensive processor and video card user that I've used.
You definitely need a GPU with
Mhm.
Fusion because it's a graphics program.
So this was a low-end gaming machine initially.
That was
That was 5 years ago. I know that.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
agreed.
it's just a question of
So-
how much money you want to spend and how much of the system needs to be replaced.
and can you get what you need? Can you get the parts you need?
So no doubt I could get a graphics card that would go in here, but
Yeah.
the motherboard won't support 11.
What's the processor on that motherboard?
It's a Ryzen 7.
Ryzen 7 Series
Just a
1000,
second.
we decided.
Okay.
Okay, so Ryzen 7 8 core, 3 gigahertz. The graphics card in here, 4 gig Radeon 550.
Radeon.
Oh, it's got a video card.
What?
No, but that should do what he needs.
But it won't support it. It's not strong enough to support Fusion. So yeah, I agree. I'm in agreement with you, but the problem is that do I spend $200 for a video card on a machine I cannot upgrade? But will you also guarantee that I can get 11 on here? Because
No.
the motherboard won't. Correct. So there goes another 200.
And there, now we're starting to add up some cost.
Yeah. got 16 gig RAM. I probably should take it up to 32 if I can on this
Yeah.
mother.
32.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now the question is, do I convert it to a Linux box and put it in the shop and just leave it alone and just use it another?
I think, yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
very reasonable, given what you have, what you're trying to run on it. You probably would do
So
better. You probably would do better with a new rig, and let this one
I'm gonna
be
try
what it
it.
is.
Almost like you're building a
Yeah,
test rig.
That's well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna test the little guy that I've got at the shop at the school next
Yeah.
week. The school ends next week. I can bring it home. It's a Windows 11, 32 gig drive. Only thing that I worry about on that one is if the onboard graphics is going to be big enough. Is it going to allow for Fusion to run without the error?
I
And
doubt that
the only
that's
way I
enough
can test
power.
that is to actually install Fusion on there and do it.
Yeah, you could try it, but I have a feeling it's not going to work.
Let me see. I understand. It says it's got 4 gig of RAM on the card, but I don't know if it's integrated on this box or if it's a separate card in the unit. $16 gigs installed.
And also, when it does that overflow, that will slow down the processing right there. Yeah.
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 So you've confirmed what I was thinking initially. Try it on the new baby machine that I've got, which is less than 6 months old.
Yeah.
And which has got 11 built in. And if it works, I can use it. If it doesn't work, then I gotta do the finances.
Pete, is this the licensed version or the free version of Fusion Pro?
It's the licensed version.
It's a licensed version, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, but Pete, didn't you say that that second machine you're looking at is a small form factor machine?
Absolutely. It's a small form factor. It sits on the back of the monitor over there.
Yeah.
So I can't do an upgrade there. So I'm just all I want to do is, now I can install Fusion on that hard drive because I have a professional license and I can run up to two or three machines at a time. As long as the So I can install it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then I'm exactly in the same boat I am right now.
Yeah.
And I just got to figure finances.
Right. Finances we all
Okay.
have to figure.
Yeah. Especially these days.
Yep. And it's going to get more expensive with the tariffs.
Because they're putting the tariffs and the shipping charges.
Yeah. As it clears customs, it takes on this additional charge. And so that becomes part of shipping.
Yeah.
One thing I found out I don't like about shipping direct from China is sometimes they use a carrier, which I won't name, that's an international carrier, and they don't know how to make a delivery. Mine ended up blowing around in the wind out in the rain.
That's why I have.
Okay,
I have
can we go
all my
on to a new
important-
question? Any new questions?
Yeah. I have a new
Go ahead.
Actually, two questions. Let me do the easy one first. Biometric, to get in with your face, your fingerprint. It's supposed to be more secure. What my concern is, it's only more secure from people that you don't know, that are out there somewhere. But if you're traveling somewhere and someone steals your phone and just rushes it past your face as he runs out the door, you're pretty well screwed. So I have some concerns about that, and I'm not.
Wait, Alan, we're not quite following here. You identified biometrics,
Yeah.
and then you said somebody's stealing your phone and what? Opening you're saying they open your phone with your face.
Yeah, let's say I'm in Europe somewhere and I'm rolling down the street. Someone grabs my phone, rushes it past my face as he runs out the door.
Right.
He's got my phone. It's open and he has access to whatever I have on there. And
Okay.
And to me, that's less secure than having to enter your password every time you do this. So my question is, when you leave the country or even maybe when you travel somewhere or you're in someplace that you're not as comfortable with, is it a good idea to disable all your biometric data so that you can't fingerprint your way in your phone or your face or whatever?
Which first thing, I think, in order to be able to address the question, we need to know what brand.
It'll be an iPhone.
It'd be an iPhone. So that's Apple. So it means you're in the iOS environment, which is different than the Android environment. Each one attacks it differently, right?
I don't know. I haven't had Android in 20 years.
If memory serves me correctly, biometrics work at per instant identification. Meaning you go to open your phone, it requires your face to open the phone. All right. But then you go to run your banking software. That needs your face currently at the moment to open the phone.
All right.
You leave that application, you go to another application. That one, whatever that might be, is going to again need your fresh face to open the phone. So the fact that they got it open once doesn't mean it's, the way I interpret it, doesn't mean it's open for all your applications. It's just open for your contacts and be able to use the phone. Can they do damage? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be in a foreign country. It could be here too. This happens, but
Downtown Chicago.
it could be anywhere. It could be in Maui. It happens everywhere. that people steal phones and open
So
them
then
up.
it's not something I should be that concerned about because whatever happens, happens, and that's it.
Well, oh, thanks, Tim. Now you just made us like we shouldn't be here.
It's
Well,
well,
I
now
don't
you know
think
why
that
Drew
quite
does
works
these things.
because sorry?
Now you know why Drew does these things with the dark glasses and everything.
Right. Now we know why Drew does
Right.
it with the
yeah.
glasses.
Well, actually, you know why I put the glasses on? There was two reasons. One is there's another group I belong to, and the guy who runs the group also wears these glasses, and his reasoning is that he doesn't want his face to be extracted into and some AI engine from a video being posted on the internet.
Hmm.
I did it primarily the first time because I had stayed up all night and I had dark circles around my eyes.
Yeah. But as far as pulling the video off of a Zoom call, some people deliberately degrade their videos so that it would be much more difficult. Some people use avatars instead, and things of that nature. Personally, I am not too worried because I don't use biometrics on my phone. The other thing I know is these cases you see running around in various security discussion groups are usually people who were drinking. They had their phones already open and they had their banking apps already open.
Yeah. See,
That's
what I've
the key.
noticed, what I've noticed on my Android phone is that if somebody managed to unlock my phone, or if I put my phone down on the table and it was unlocked, inside the Google folder is an app called Wallet, and I have a credit card in there. And Google Wallet doesn't require any biometrics to open it. You know, as long as the phone is unlocked, anybody can use your credit card.
Yeah.
Whereas my password manager requires my thumbprint to open it even after the phone is unlocked. I kind of wish that Google Wallet would also have the option to do a secondary biometric authentication.
Mhm.
Can you set up Google Wallet so that it requires OAuth or some other kind of 2FA?
No, it just, you click on it and it opens.
So there's no 2FA.
There's no settings. There's no menus. There's nowhere to go to even look for settings to change.
All I can say about that is, wow, people still use that?
All right. So back to Alan's question.
Yeah.
Though. I do remember that if your phone was stolen and you contact your carrier, they can immediately wipe your phone, especially an Apple phone. And I think you do have to have that Find My feature turned on, but they can remotely disable the phone. They can wipe it remotely, so that will possibly help you, Alan, no matter where you're at when you're traveling.
Yeah.
If that happened, although that does take time to get a hold of them and give them the information to be able to have them wipe it.
I might be able to do that from my wife's phone because you can share that location feature.
Yeah, and I think you can do it right from the phone itself. You can disable or lock up that phone.
Is the phone an iPhone or an Android phone?
It's an iPhone.
iPhone.
Okay.
Apple.
Now, I will agree that you could do that, except once. I had a little issue. I did lose the phone, and I was unable to disable it. And the reason I couldn't disable it is because I lost it in the Ketchikan forest of Alaska, and there's no internet there. So you couldn't send anything to disable anything. So if it ever gets found and charged and it's in a nice case, maybe it'll be around and work well.
I'm reading something. I'm reading something online here that says for an iPhone, you can turn on stolen device protection. This feature adds an extra layer of security, requiring biometrics to make significant changes to your account and device settings, even with the passcode.
That's right. And
Right.
even with that enabled, the concern was that maybe your face had already been swiped. But as Sanford
Yeah.
pointed out, there is at least available on a per app basis that you have to do it again.
Right.
However,
Um,
if somebody gets your phone and there happens to be a sensitive app open at that moment, before you can even get it disabled, they can do a lot of damage.
They can.
yeah. Yeah. As soon as you know that your iPhone is missing, you can do two things. If you have do you have an iPad?
I do have an iPad, yes.
You can run the Find My device on the iPad
Right.
and tell it that you want to remotely wipe your iPhone.
And I do have the stolen device protection on, actually, so that's good.
Good.
And you
Lockdown
can do
mode,
it. You can do it through iCloud.com/find.
lockdown mode is off. I don't even know. I've never heard of lockdown mode. We turn the cyber attack. Oh, if you're in a cyber attack, you can turn on lockdown mode. I don't know that must be a new. They update these things pretty regularly.
Does that help, Alan?
Yes, it does.
Makes you feel a little better?
It does.
Right.
My next
So-
question is also, and I was doing something around.
One super quick one. I'm reading the online again. It says stolen device protection on iPhones may require multiple face ID scans for certain actions.
Right.
Hmm.
That's good to know.
Okay, Alan, you were going to say?
Yeah. One of the things I also was reading about was if you're in a situation where there's your username and password is in a breach and it's published, that's a problem. But one of the things you can do, I'm told, is to use an alias password, an alias username, so that even if it's in a breach, you won't be able to really know what the person's username is if it's his email address. And so,
Correct.
and so I was looking up how to use email passwords. I mean, how to use alias passwords for Google. And it said that you can use, let's say your name was alan@google.com. You could create an alias by simply putting a plus after the word, then putting it alan+work@gmail.com.
Yeah, and every criminal on earth knows about
That'll function as an alias for you, but all the other person needs to do is remove the plus and the extra characters, and they got your email address.
That's right. And then there was
I use a service called Simple Login, SIMPLE Login. It's owned by Proton. It's an open source company, and they have a free version and a paid version. And you can create once you create an account, you tell it that you would like all of your alias email addresses to forward to your primary inbox. And then you can create a series of email addresses that are complete aliases. Like, for example, I have drew@doodles.simplelogin.com. And nobody is going to ever know what drew@doodles.simplelogin.com goes to. You know, it lands in my Gmail inbox, but nobody's ever going to know that.
interesting. What was the name of that site?
It's called Simple Login.
Simple, SIMPLE, login, one word.
Yes, sir.
And there's a paid version. And what's the difference between the paid and the free version?
The free version, I think, is limited to 10 alias addresses. And you cannot send email from that alias address. If you pay, you can actually pretend to be that person.
Hmm.
And I'm a subscriber to it because I needed more than 10 alias addresses. And it's only, I think I paid $36 for a year.
That's
And I can have as many email addresses as I want. I have a different one for Kohl's that I have for Home Depot that I have for Lowe's. And
Essentially everything in your password manager has where it has an email address, you have an alias.
yes, I do.
Well, that's a good way to do it.
So it's simplelogin.io.
Simplelogin.io.
Yeah.
Not .com.
Correct. Right up on the screen.
IO. All right.
Yep. And you can start with the free version, and if it meets your needs, that's fine. Otherwise,
is there a family version so that my wife can use it too, or can I go use the same thing?
Pricing.
Well, what you can do is if you sign up once, click on the pricing tab for a moment. You did. Okay, so that's $36 a year. What you can do in the paid version is you can create what they call multiple mailboxes. One mailbox will be for you, and another mailbox will be for your wife. So mailbox A goes to your email box of choice. Mailbox B goes to her email box of choice. Then both of you log in with the same user ID and password, and you can create as many aliases as you want, and you decide which alias goes to which mailbox.
My wife is going to love this. She's going to go, what are you out of your mind? Orange shit. You got me doing the password manager. Now you want me to do this? Oh, I want a divorce. That's what's going to happen.
Well, that will always be the case.
And it can even create them dynamically. So when you go into a retail store for the first time and they say, what is your email address? You don't have to say, oh, wait a minute, let me log onto my computer or let me log onto my phone and create a new alias for you. You just create one. I just call it Coles or, whatever it is that you're doing. And the very first time that they try and send you an email, it'll land at the Simple Login website, and it will say, Drew has automatic alias enabled, so it will just accept the mail and forward it to my account.
Cool. Okay.
Well, wait a minute, Drew. Did you say you had to have it created before you went to the store then?
No, you don't.
No.
Well,
it creates it on the fly.
Yeah, but how does it do it? I mean, if you give them an email address.
Dennis, have you ever used a password manager and had it auto-generate? Some password managers can do that. This, no. I suspect, is fairly similar.
Here's the way it works. It's very simple. The email domain is simplelogin.com for your mail. You will, when you first log in, create your own subdomain. I created one called Doodles for Golden Doodles. So I can create John at doodles.simplelogin.com, Mary at doodles.simplelogin.com. Okay. I can create any name I want on the fly at the store, so long as I point it to doodles.simplelogin.com.
Got it. Okay.
Now, so there is one other thing that I saw on the internet about passwords, and I like this particular one.
Oh,
but
no,
there's also one where you can go
for that reason.
Google Workspace. I don't even know what Google Workspace is. Maybe that's for business.
I did not.
But apparently in Google Workspace, you can also create alias passwords. And I tried to go on to Google, one of my accounts, and I couldn't find Google Workspace. So I didn't exactly know how to do it. So does anyone know about Google Workspace?
I think they're rebranding their suite of apps. And now it's Google Workspace.
So in other words, if I just log into their Google Drive, that would be Google Workspace?
No, it'd be more like Google Sheets, Google Docs, etc.
Well, isn't that in Google Drive?
Google Drive is part of it.
Yeah.
It's one of their suite of apps. So is Gmail.
Right. No. Right.
So I think individuals can do it, but don't quote me on that. It may be for business.
Is there a business Google also?
Yes, there is.
No.
It gives you more features. It's kind of like Microsoft has Microsoft 365 for individuals or for business.
And what is the advantage of Google for Business?
You can do more with it
You don't know either.
if you need those features.
Yeah.
Mhm. I think with Google for Business, you can create your own domain.
Yes,
I see.
among other features.
Oh, and Alan, also, if you look in the chat, I just put in another link to a website called eml.monster. And it is the same thing as Simple Login, only it's totally free. You can create 100 or 200 aliases, and they're free. You could have your own account, your wife could have her own account. And the only difference between that and the paid version of Simple Login is Simple Login lets you actually send email as that alias, whereas Email Monster only allows you to receive as that address.
Got it. Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so Alan, you kind of got us into the right direction here, because now we're going to talk about password managers, since that was the topic you really requested us to talk about tonight. And Alan, what did you want to address or present or talk about?
So I've been using LastPass for 20 years, and I know it got hacked a couple times, and some people were concerned about that, and I was concerned about it too. But because everything was encrypted, no one's data got compromised, which was good. And then I have some financial manager guys, and it's a publicly traded company. And I said, what do you guys use? And because they had at one point, they had a guest speaker who happened to be the director of internet security for JP Morgan Chase. And she had discussions about this stuff. So I figured that if they have that kind of connection, they should know what they're doing. And I asked them what password manager they were using, and they were using LastPass Enterprise. Now, I don't think there's this thing called LastPass Enterprise now. It was a few years ago, but I think they've rebranded it to LastPass Buisness. And there's probably several iterations of that, depending on how large or small your business.
Right. For if you're new to password managers, Bitwarden is a good first choice. It has a good Android client, an iPhone client. It integrates to your browser. It has a desktop app, and it's very simple.
Well, about 7 or 8 years ago, I was, when it first started getting hacked, I started getting contact with the guy who was the security editor for PC Magazine. PC Magazine, when I grew up, it was the Bible. And he suggested using something called Password Keeper or something. I forget what it was. It wasn't Keypass. It was something else. I thought it was horrible. It didn't do half the stuff that LastPass did. I was really unimpressed. LastPass allows you to paste in your credit card's number. You have to look stuff up. It's paste it in. It allows you
Mhm.
to load your passport and your information that, so if you're overseas and you lose your passport, go to the U.S. Embassy, they log in, there you go, that's my
Mhm.
passport you need, and
Mhm.
I found that great. Now, I don't know if Bitwarden does that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I don't mind paying for the extra if it's more expensive.
Yeah, Bitwarden is a simple, no frills, easy to use application. Even the paid version is only $10
I do
a year.
one password is supposed to be good too, but I have not logged on to that or. Oh, there's no way, geez, to try them out even. Alternatively, I suppose you go on YouTube and find out how the thing works and have someone show you on YouTube. They have everything there.
Yeah.
Now,
Uh,
right now you got
yeah.
300 passwords, and I don't know if I even want to. It's not easy anymore.
Let me ask, doesn't Google offer a password manager built in?
Not that I'm aware of,
Apple
In
does.
the browser, I know if
but
you go to a website that
but
requires you creating a password, it can auto-generate a password for you. So I'm assuming it's got some form of password management.
well, if let's say you're on your iPhone and you want to authenticate Bank of America's app, I don't think that the Google Password Manager is going to fill in that information.
Okay.
No, Apple has its own,
Bitwarden will.
and that's relatively new.
Doesn't Apple have an automatic password manager
It does
They
now,
have one built into the iPhone, yes.
into the iPhone? They do.
and that's just only been out for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Is Alan, since you're in that environment, the
Yeah.
iOS environment, is that also across their other devices? In other words, if you created a password on your phone,
Everything
will
is
it show up on your iPad
Yeah, everything is cross-platform there.
and it'll show up on your Apple laptop, your MacBook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I take yes,
I
but on your
can't I
Mac,
can't swear to that one.
on your iMac, for some reason it doesn't do facial recognition, even though it's got a camera built in. But the keyboard has a fingerprint pad on it, and so you do it that way with an iMac. But the iPad and the iPhone, it's just facial recognition. And I just got a watch. I don't think it does it on a watch. Um, but there is some way to, it must be, let me just check and see if it's listed here on their passwords. LMNOP. No, there's
I
not.
thought LastPass was free for a while. I see here on there it says try it for free, no credit cards required.
Yes,
Wasn't it
absolutely.
free
It
that
had
you could? It was free that you could use it only on one
one device.
platform. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
oh, Yeah, and what was interesting with that is I just had some recent problems. I'm talking about this week actually, because their passwordless feature is now in beta. You can click on beta and you can do things with a passwordless. But I accidentally turned on two-factor authentication, and so you can have different profiles on LastPass, yours and someone else. So I have my wife has hers and I have mine. But then when they updated, they all got screwed up, and I didn't bother messing with it because it was just such a mess. You know, I'm not going to go through 300 passwords and straighten them out. So we just leave it on all now. But the point is that if you put on two-factor identification, which I didn't even know I had on apparently, or they changed it. I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden my wife couldn't get onto her into LastPass, and I had to go on my phone and give her passwords on my the code, 6-digit code, so she can get in, and that became untenable. So I had to just turn off two-factor identification, which is unfortunate, but that's and I don't know if any
For
other.
I have a trick for you. I have a tip and a trick for you. There is an open source two-factor authentication application called 2FAS, and it's 2FAS.com. It's open source, totally free, runs on iPhones and Android phones, runs on the iPad. You can have, and it has the ability to export and import the secret codes that generate the tokens. So if you load the app and you populate it with two-factor authentication things that are going to generate a token, you can go into settings, export those, and then your wife can import them, and she'll have access to your 2FA codes.
Okay, well, that went a little fast. You're not.
Yeah,
So,
you want to run that by us again here?
you know,
How this works?
in LastPass, there are different. You can check off. There's a whole bunch of different 2FA programs that you can use, Google and YubiKey and a whole bunch of other ones. But I don't know if this is listed. I'd have to look and see if 2FAS is
hang on one. Can I share do I have the ability to share?
Yes, you do. Let me just stop what I'm doing. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'll show you exactly what I'm referring to. That'll make it easier for you to see and understand. All right, so now if I bring up my cell phone, can everybody see my cell phone now?
Yes, sir.
All right, so now I'm going to go into the 2FAS app. Right now, it's a blank screen that you see. I'm going to put my fingerprint reader in, and then I'm going to go into settings and tell it to temporarily allow screenshots. And boom, there it is. So here are the tokens that are being generated every 30 seconds. If I go into settings, see how it says import tokens?
Yes.
Right over here.
Yep.
If I go into backup, it automatically backs up to my Google Drive, and that's just for me. But under file backup, it has import and export. So I could, if I wanted to, export my data that's in here, give it to my wife or my girlfriend or my brother or sister or whoever I trust, my son, my daughter. They load 2FAS on the app on the device of their choice. Doesn't matter if it's iPhone or Android phones, and then they import that file, and then they will have on their phone everything that you have on your phone.
Interesting. Yeah, and I do see 2FAS is available for iPhone right here. Yeah.
Yes.
There's actually several of them, though. I don't understand which one. Wait a minute. There's
Well, you would load whatever the one that's in the Apple App Store.
yeah, but there's more than one, and they look different. There's Authenticator.
Well, this particular one is called 2FAS.
Okay, I think that must be this one. Number one rated 2FA Authenticator. Apparently, yeah, and it sort of looks like that screen. Okay. I will download it and start looking at it. Sounds interesting.
Thanks, Drew.
You're welcome.
Helpful. Thank you, Drew. You're helpful all day around here. You're very helpful.
All right. Do we have any more discussions on password managers? No. Okay. If not, I will suggest everyone look at the list of questions I had sent out or the topics, and let's pick up some and go for it. And Drew was going to ask a question. You were
No.
Okay.
I was going to, at the last moment, mention Keypad, that I'm a Keypass user. I don't think there's any other Keypass users on the meeting.
Keypass is that the Apple Keypass?
No, Keypass will run on Apple, but it's a generic. It runs on Windows, Linux, Mac, iPhones, Android phones.
Yeah, I do.
The difference is that you have to self-synchronize. It doesn't exist anywhere on the internet, so there's no company to be hacked. And one last thing is, considering that you had mentioned that your wife and being able to log into your 2FAS codes, Bitwarden, for example, is one of the password managers. It's not the only one, but even with the free version, you are allowed to share or connect your database to one other person. So if you signed up for Bitwarden and your wife signed up for Bitwarden, you could link your two accounts. If you get into a car accident and pass away, she can access all your passwords.
That's helpful to know. Yeah, I did see some.
That's actually a good point. And that's Bitwarden?
Videos on
Yes.
that group, that the national group that does videos. They have some what, a CPUG or something or other. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah,
This is the national group here. Somebody bigger than us?
bigger than Chicago Computer Society.
Yeah, somebody bigger than us, more.
Yeah, it's called. I'll have to. Okay, they have a whole series on Bitwarden. I just got to it. I'll tell you where it is in a minute, if I can get to my. Oops. Oops. Every time I go up here, it goes away. Oh, I know what I'll do. I will make this small.
Free enterprise trial. Let's see what they got.
Yeah, they have a corporate version that you don't really need.
No, they have a free version.
Yep, that's the one that I use. I use the free version. The difference between the free version and the premium is primarily the integrated authenticator. For those of you who want the simplicity, Bitwarden for the paid version, which I believe is $10 a year or $12 a year, it has the ability to not only store your user ID and password, but enter that 6-digit token for you as well.
And
so this is a password manager?
Yes, it is.
Okay, similar to LastPass.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And similar to Keypass and 2FAS and
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the position to recommend. If somebody says to you, I'm a little bit trepidatious about using a password manager, and I'm scared. What should I do? Bitwarden is a good first place to go to for a beginner.
Okay.
And the group I was thinking of is APCUG,
Oh, yeah.
App code, yes.
AppChug, and they have,
You've heard of them.
yeah, they have a ton of these videos on YouTube about passkeys and about Bitwarden. There's about 3 separate 2-hour videos apiece on these, on that particular, right. That's how I found it.
Yep.
By the way, Drew, where do you get those glasses anyway?
They're part of Zoom. They're part of Zoom.
Zoom? Okay. Do you have to have a, I guess I do have an account there.
You just go into in Zoom, click on the video tab. There's a caret with like a little up arrow, and one of the options is backgrounds and effects or filters, and the eyeglasses are a filter.
Just background and effects
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh, there we go.
blur and
You could give yourself a mustache. You could put on a hat. You could wear a lipstick.
see blur. I don't see. Oh, this says create your own avatar. Are you creating your own avatar to do this? No, I don't think so. Touch up my appearance, just like portrait lighting,
Video filters.
the background, video filters.
Scroll, scroll, scroll.
How come mine says none for video filters?
Yeah, I don't have any video filters.
This is- on. Okay.
Interesting. Huh. Well, there's an advantage to
I like Bob.
there's an
You're in
advantage.
3D now.
I love it. Those are great. Good job, Bob. He's
And
having fun.
if I think I know what I'm talking about,
Oh, and now he's a grad.
Professor, or if it's Talk Like a Pirate Day. But anyway, this is where they come from.
Yeah, that's where they come from.
Well,
I like the 3D glasses, though. I think those are better pick for you. Yep, those are perfect. Those look really good. Well, Alan's flipping around.
around, but I don't have all those features. I only have blur and none, virtual background, blur and
Yeah.
none. So blur.
When you launch Zoom, do you do it through a web browser or do you have the Zoom app installed?
Oh, I have the Zoom app, I believe. That's interesting. So now I found why a PC could be better than a Mac. Very good. I don't get that. That's the first thing I found that really would be useful. That's good though.
Now, I just have integrated graphics, so no special graphics card.
I don't have special graphics yet. It wouldn't give it to me.
My machine's only about 2 years old. So, but there's so many. Yeah, it's an iMac.
Or is it a Mac?
Yeah.
All right, I sent out topics. Can we pull up some topics and let's see what people would like to discuss while we still have
Okay.
time?
Gary had a question.
Yes.
No, I was just going to make a quick observation. I don't want to slow you down. I use Bitwarden also. I seized, and I think it was members of this group that convinced me maybe 6 months ago to do it. I had at the time something like over 300 accounts. Some of them I know I hadn't used in years. So I bit the bullet. Took me about a week to do, and I went through 40 or 50 accounts each day, and made a decision on each one. Do I want to keep it, get rid of it, update it, and so on? So rather than importing outdated and unused passwords, I knew I could. It had the ability. Bitwarden has the ability. I used the opportunity to start from scratch. To try to do it all in one sitting is an impossibility. But if you're willing to spend 45 minutes a day for a week or something, you really can handle 200 or 300 that way. And this way it's a fresh start, and you make a decision on each account. Do I want to keep it? Do I want to close it? Or even in some cases find out that it was already closed because I hadn't used it.
Does Bitwarden also import the notes you have in LastPass?
Yep. Yeah.
So there's a limited number of characters you can put in Bitwarden's notes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And does Bitwarden also have what they call secure notes, which is what LastPass also has, secure notes?
It has secure notes, and if you have the paid version, you can actually send other people secure files. So suppose you need to transfer your tax return to your accountant, or you want to send a medical file to email, and you don't want to do it through email. You can attach that file to your Bitwarden and give it a password, and then you send somebody a hyperlink. They download the file and have to have that password.
Well, these days everybody has their secure portals, so that's not becoming less of an issue.
It is becoming less of an issue, but I know people that transfer records back and forth, and between the father and the son, or and he wants his son to have certain things. He sends him his tax files that are in TurboTax, and he transfers those files securely that way. That way you get end-to-end encryption.
Does Bitwarden also, in their secure notes, is that have a character limit also?
Well, the file transfer feature is limited to 500 megabytes.
I'm not worried about that, but the secure note part.
The secure note part, you'd have to go up and look. I don't know off the top of my head.
And they also put in automatically put in credit card numbers and stuff like that, or no?
You can choose a format. They have, when you say new, you can say new password, new credit card.
Okay, good. And will it also store my passport in the cloud?
I don't know.
Wow, so it's real important, because that's
I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask before I went through all that, because that's pretty key for me. Okay, interesting.
All right, so someone would like to pick something out of the topics I sent out? We have a half hour to do this.
I think the one that jumps out at me is the one near the bottom that says, how to recover permanently deleted files. on Windows 10. I don't know how you can recover permanently deleted without a backup.
Right. Well, let's
That
see what
sounds-
that one says.
It's unbelievable, I think.
According to ChatGPT, your passport information can be stored.
Oh, good.
You can have a digital copy of your passport stored inside Bitwarden, but you have to have a premium account.
That's worthwhile. I would do that.
And like I said, it's $10 or $12 a year.
Okay, so we're going to switch subjects and go to this one that Dennis had identified about how to recover files deleted in Windows 11 or 10 and 11. So they talk about the recycle bin. Well, we all know that's an option for you. File history. Anyone want to expand on that one? I have no experience on using file history, although I have it turned on.
Oh.
No. Okay. None of us have used file history, even though that is the new feature, right? Instead of the recycle bin. Okay. So the file history requires that the system do a backup to something somewhere, correct? And you have to have this feature enabled and turned on. Is it turned on by default?
Well,
okay, does anyone know how to turn on file history? Well, all right, I'm going to stop sharing and somebody show us how to do this real quick. Okay, someone else?
I'm going in there now to see if I can find it.
It's in the control panel, system and security.
Someone want to share the screen?
Okay, just a moment here. Let's see if I can do a screen share.
Yeah, it definitely
Where
is in the
it?
control
Share.
panel.
Share. And what I want to do is share that. And don't need to do the rest of that. Got it?
Okay.
Yep, there it is. Yep.
And then you just turn it on, right? And
I'm not turning it on, but it could be turned on.
Well, you can turn it on, and then you have to give it a place to do it, right? So
you have to designate a drive.
Right.
And that drive from then on must always be attached when you use your computer.
Right.
Yeah. I rely on the Microsoft OneDrive file history.
There is that too.
Okay, so yours is saving it up in the OneDrive.
You would select a drive here, and you can restore, you can exclude, you can do advanced.
How does this operate different than restore points?
It keeps complete copies of files, which you can specify.
Restore points don't do anything with your personal data.
Okay. This one will?
Yeah.
Yes.
Restore points will not back up personal files.
Does file history do all files or only Windows files?
By default, it has certain folders it backs up. That'd be documents, pictures, etc. And you can select which ones you want, which ones you don't want, add a few.
Okay.
Yep.
I would limit how much stuff I was backing up because it's very easy to fill up an external drive.
Yeah, and then you have to back up the external drives.
Yep.
Did they list any other options besides file history?
Well, they did. I just pulled this up here. So we've got Google Drive is another place that you could store only for those people, only for G Suite users.
Yeah.
Google Suite users. Okay. use backup and restore feature in Windows 7. That kind of works.
It doesn't work in Windows 7, but it works in, it doesn't work for certain things.
Right.
But
there
7 and
is
later.
there is a program available for free called Free File Sync, and if you back up your documents on your PC to an external drive or a cloud drive, you can enable in Free File Sync the file history feature, and customize how many copies and how many dates and how you want them formatted and what directory you want to put them in.
Okay. So back to this thing. What they're saying is basically you got to use one of these sources here to restore your files. It's not like you're restoring them off the hard drive itself, except for this free data recovery program.
Yeah, and data recovery is really hit or miss.
It is hit or miss.
I wouldn't rely on it for 100%.
Windows used to have something called volume shadow copies. I think they phased that out when they brought in file history.
Yes.
Well, shadow copy does something that file history doesn't do, and that's when you want to use a software program that backs up your Windows files while your Windows is running. That's using the shadow copy.
So they're giving you, if you go through this article, they give you some options on how to do this. Some of the things you do like right away, you can undelete a file right after you delete it. Well, that is usually obvious. Go back to Google Drive and restore it from there.
These all depend on you having the foresight to put extra copies in locations outside of your Windows drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to do that first. It's easy to recover if you had the foresight to make backup copies, or if you have it automatically scheduled, which you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And file history is just a way of automating that.
This will not work if you accidentally formatted your drive.
No.
Well, Drew, here, I mean, Dennis, this does have some info in here on how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say it's, when it comes to recovering files, it's not an easy process.
No, it isn't.
And it's never,
and according to ChatGPT for Google, it says each time you upload a new file with the same name, Google Drive keeps a version history.
It does.
So you can do it on Google Drive, you can do it on pCloud, you can do it on OneDrive. I store all of my important data on the cloud rather than on a specific PC because being a computer guy, I have more than one PC, and I want to be able to access my documents from each of my computers.
I think one of the take-home lessons is backing up your data is just as important as backing up your system.
Yes, it is.
And you have to do it a lot more frequently.
My Google Drive and OneDrive are both mirrored to my pCloud drive. So if I were to suddenly lose access to my Microsoft drive for any reason, let's say Microsoft suspended my account or somebody hacked it and I couldn't get in,
Yeah.
all of my data is on pCloud as well. I maintain 2 copies of my cloud data.
Mm-hmm.
What is pCloud?
pCloud is just a competitor to Microsoft OneDrive and Google Drive. It's a cloud storage provider.
Free or paid?
Paid. Well, they give you 10 gigabytes for free, but
Yeah.
if you buy over the holidays, like on Thanksgiving, they have lifetime plans, and I bought 2 terabytes for $215 for life.
Oh,
Is there an advantage over OneDrive?
Some people don't like OneDrive. pCloud, so for me, pCloud has a Linux client. So I can access my pCloud files on Windows and on Linux because pCloud supports Linux, whereas Microsoft does not. So it all depends on your situation.
Yeah.
I do it with rclone. But pCloud has a very nice Linux client that integrates directly into your home folder.
Okay, so someone want to we went through that topic. Let's pick out another topic, please. Number 2. Are we talking how to enable Sandbox? Okay.
Pro.
Let's share that. How to enable Sandbox in Windows 11.
Pro.
It's got to be Pro?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Wow, this is not a deceiving article. They got it.
Yeah, when you close there's no persistence to Sandbox. So if you open the Sandbox and install some software and then you shut down your computer, that software's gone.
Yeah. And that also means if you generate any data inside the Sandbox, you need a way of getting it out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You have to remember to move it, though. Yep.
Now, I wonder, I've never used the Sandbox because I don't have Pro. I don't know, they wouldn't allow you to just copy files over to your C drive because it's a Sandbox. So where would you put them?
So it won't let you put it on your C drive, but it'll let you put it on another external drive. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you install the Cloud Drive software to access the cloud, then I would think so, yes. I agree.
Does anyone here have Windows 11 Pro? Oh, there we go. We got 2 people. Mhm.
Yep.
So you don't just leave it on and running all the time.
And also, it does use up resources.
Yeah. I use virtual machines for the same purpose.
Well, most virtual machines do sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Give me a
don't
scenario why I would want to use the sandbox feature.
Oh, say you're going someplace and on the internet, you're not familiar with the site and it's kind of dodgy, and you know you might get exposed to some malware, or you have some kind of software you downloaded. You're not really sure that it doesn't contain something that's going to do harm or that's going to export your data somewhere,
yeah.
and
And
it's a good test bed
Mhm.
for something you don't know to be safe.
another good use for it is trialware. You could download a legitimate copy of trialware from some site, and I don't like to contaminate my production machine with a gazillion software programs I'm never going to buy.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's also good for if you were doing uh, if you were doing Linux like in a virtual machine, you would sandbox that, and then you could try out different kinds of Linux that you might like. So it can work even for
Mhm.
entire operating systems.
Yep.
Okay, so Bob, have you done it? Have you?
I have not done anything with virtual machines because most of what I do can fit onto external SSDs
What
that
about
connect by,
sandbox?
yeah, they connect by fast USB. It's not sandboxed. I I suppose there is some kind of a firewall regarding USB, but it's not much to talk about in Windows by default. And I don't do things that are really risky anyway, not knowingly.
So since you're one of the few people that does have Pro, and you could test
Mhm.
this for us,
I
maybe you
could.
could try it and let us know in a couple of months. Hey, I tried it. This is what I did. I'm not asking you to go to nefarious websites. It's more like turn on the feature. This is how it worked, and this is what happened when I turned it off.
Yeah,
Uh,
just turn it on, load a piece of dummy trial software, and then shut it down.
Yeah, give us your experience. You think you could do that for us, Bob, in the next couple of months?
if I get any free time, I am really swamped with other projects. I've got something I've got to download off of my computer now to present tomorrow morning.
Well,
I don't know when I'm going to have
okay.
spare
Hey,
time,
maybe
but
by
if
the
I
end of the
do,
year. How about by the end of the year?
yeah, it's more likely. The next couple or 3 months, maybe.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to just want
Okay,
to,
so I have an assignment.
yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Bob, is that a real room behind you, or is that a visual, fake room?
That's my apartment. That's my part of my
I'm,
bedroom.
I'm going to confirm the fact that Bob has no free time because those are the same full boxes I've been seeing for the past couple months behind him sitting on that table.
Well,
Those are storage. Those are storage. I don't have any
Yeah.
separate storage spaces.
You don't have a storage facility in your building?
I have some, but I have outdoors tools that I store there that I use in my volunteer work, and a little
Okay.
cart, which right now is sitting folded
Yeah.
up in my car.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I would have more time if I hadn't had things like upgrading to computers and things of that nature. I still have 2 pieces of furniture to assemble, that sort of thing. And people keep trying to give me things to do over here at Brookhaven. I seem to be assigned to every committee. And it's because I'm a younger resident.
Oh, we got
And
committees
even-
to assign them to. Anyone got? Hey, Tim, we got a committee. We can assign him to
No.
some. He says
We
he's
tried
got
that.
time.
You guys tried that before. I didn't have the Saturdays free then, and I don't have them now because that's prime time for doing outdoor volunteer work.
Yeah. Tim, you want to make an announcement about the upcoming elections in the fall? What positions are currently open? So I know we have an opening for the vice president that we desperately need to fill. Right. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Does anyone have any last questions for the group? Nope. I will conclude recording.